Well, it's time for the DevCast, Episode 3, Developer Tips and Tricks. I'm your citizen developer and host, Dan Smiley, and today on the program, we're going to be joining John Newhoff and his team of developers over at Portage Bay Solutions as they guide us through their favorite tips and tricks for getting the most out of the FileMaker platform, getting it done quickly, getting it done efficiently. I learned some tricks I didn't even know I wanted to know. I didn't have any idea. One of them was selection fences, how to use selection fences in a different way, keyboard shortcuts, creating your own custom keyboard shortcuts, how to use the VS Code application for developing FileMaker code, how to use the MBS plugin with FileMaker, and several more really great ideas that I hope you find them as interesting as I did. So stick around, we have a great show for you today.
Okay, so for our developer tips section here for everybody, I'm going to start off with looking at a pretty simple thing that I quite like in FileMaker. So I'm going to share my screen. Having some historical roots doing fourth dimension development, there's a couple things that are really easy to do in 4D that for a while I didn't realize you could still do or that you could do in FileMaker. So I was excited when some of these capabilities were showed up for me. First is selection fences. We all know that you can draw a fence around your layout here like this and select different things. So if I want to select everything that my fence touches, all I have to do is click and drag, and I can select all this stuff. But what if I want to select something that's not that the fence isn't touching, but instead that it encloses? Like if I want to select this guy here, and I'm drawing up here, I'm selecting all this stuff that I don't really want. But if I hold down the command key, I can turn this fence gray, and instead of selecting everything that it touches, it selects everything that it encloses. And I find that pretty handy from time to time to select things that I'm enclosing instead of things that I'm touching.
God, that's awesome.
That's a really handy
I did not know. It's the shift key. Is that what it is? The shift key?
It's the command key.
Command key. Oh my gosh. Wow, that would save me so much.
That's a really good one. The other one that I really quite like is the ability to select all the items of a particular kind by holding down the Option key. I don't know if my screen share is showing pull down menus at the top of the screen. No. So I'm going to change my screen share here to share my entire screen. But if I select this task field and hold down the Option key and go up to the edit menu, the select all option changes to select same. And now I've got every field on the layout selected. Or alternatively, if I click on a text object and hold down the Option key and go up to the edit menu, select same, all of the text objects on the layout are now selected.
Very nice.
So sometimes I find that quite handy, if I'm hopefully I'm using themes and styles appropriately, but or the object editor, but sometimes I find it handy to be able to just select all the text objects if I want to change the font or the size a little bit. Those two selection tips I find pretty handy: the ability to select same and the ability to select enclosed items with the fence instead of selecting touched items by the fence.
I can see using that in a list view pretty easily. Like if you're doing one of those, all the fields have a common conditional formatting or something. So you've got a button underneath all the fields. You can just select all the fields and do conditional formatting. That would work well.
So those are my couple little things. Andy, you want to take over?
Sure. Yeah, let me show keyboard shortcuts really quick here. because this has really changed my daily workflow. And so on this is for Mac OS. Let me go ahead and share this. Okay, so keyboard shortcuts for FileMaker. So currently, to create these in Mac OS, first of all, we go into our system settings. Under keyboard settings, we hit keyboard shortcuts. App shortcuts. And then here you'll see FileMaker Pro. And you can see the existing ones that I already have currently. So I've always wanted a keyboard shortcut for the script debugger and the data viewer because those are my daily drivers.
Yep.
Right. And so, and FileMaker does not give us by default, for whatever reason, does not give us by default keyboard shortcuts for those. So I've implemented my own keyboard shortcuts. You can customize it however you like. So currently, if I go into FileMaker and I want to pop open the script debugger, I don't have to go up here anymore to the tools menu and do that. I go Control-Shift-S, boom, Control-Shift-F, S, it'll close it again. Control-Shift-D, there's my data viewer, hit it again, it's gone. So it's as easy as that, and you just name it whatever it is in the drop-down menu here. So I have one for the security now as well. So if I wanted to go in and edit security, I hit Control-Shift-Z, boom, I'm in the Manage Security dialog. And then, so I'll go ahead and go through the process of adding a new one. I kind of want one for a new window. I don't know about you guys, but I like to pop open new windows occasionally.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh my God, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
I gotta say that. This is like, this is
This is easily one of my favorites.
This is under the
Yeah.
keyboard preference.
Yeah, keyboard preferences, app shortcuts, and then FileMaker Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and put new window in here as the title. And then I'm just going to make my own keyboard shortcut. So I'm just going to do Control-Shift-W for new window. Punch that in. And
Are you sure you don't want Function Control Option Shift WKS? Make it simple.
I just whatever you do, I just say keep it consistent.
Reminds me
so
of the
let's
keyboard
go.
shortcut for.
So let me do this right this time. New window, and you have to select FileMaker Pro at the top. That helps. And then do your keyboard shortcut, whatever you like it to be. Boom, there you go, new window. So now I go back into FileMaker. I want to pop open a new window here. Boom, there we go. I don't have to go in there. So, it's just whatever you use the most, add a keyboard shortcut for it. Like it just makes your day that much easier.
Love it.
Dang it. Love it. Something
I need
it's
to
funny
do
how
this.
you just forget about. I just totally
Yeah.
I played with keyboard shortcuts years ago, and then I totally just forgot about it.
Well,
Oh,
we've
that's awesome.
man, back in the System 8 days, I was using speakable items.
Oh yeah,
So,
speakable items. That was
Open new window. Of course, we like to challenge it by doing stuff like open all and see how it handled itself.
So the one I'm sharing, it's actually external to FileMaker Pro, but still used with FileMaker. So my IDE of choice is VS Code. There's actually, I don't know, can you guys see the data
Yeah.
viewer?
Yep.
Okay. So in FileMaker, sometimes we have to write crazy calculations. Sometimes we don't, or sometimes we're just debugging, advanced calculations. This is the function of this is a let function, right? FileMaker will generate it for you. Well, the same is true. There's an extension, just called FileMaker extension in VS Code, which essentially does the same thing, but there's also formatting. So all the expressions are saved, but let's say you're going to format that let function every time in a stacked direction. You don't want to do that. You can essentially do those types of things here, copy out your expression, and then go back to your data viewer, and you have a quickly formatted
That's really
function this way.
So
And you can
where?
you create and save those formats?
Oh, I
Or is
don't
that
know.
part of the-
There's probably a way that you can edit these, but these are actually pre-built. So there's a bunch
Wow.
of them that the person who wrote this extension actually created a bunch of variations of those.
Okay.
So they have like inline and then stacked, but that's for all of the FileMaker functions.
Oh my god.
Do they have
So-
semicolon left, semicolon right?
I knew that was going to be asked. No, they do not. At least I have not found that. But another tool that they have. So let's say we're formatting JSON. We'll take all this JSON, let's throw it into this testing calc. And we know we need to format this. So we're going to actually create this object, let's say in FileMaker. And FileMaker syntax is JSON set element. Well, there's a built-in function inside of VS Code with this extension that allows you to just select an object and format it for FileMaker.
Oh.
Taking anything that
Whoa.
was present in that object and then setting it. So you don't have to manually type everything that you want to test with for an object. You can just grab an object has worked for some kind of API you're testing, and then format it for FileMaker.
Wow.
Interesting.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
It's
Well, now
also
I'd-
great for testing calcs. So this is just like a obnoxious calc from another client file. Why you would do it this way, you probably wouldn't. But if you're designing someone else's solution, and this is the method that they chose to design something with, it makes it really easy to debug in an IDE versus trying to figure out everything inside of the FileMaker expression window.
No kidding.
And that's
yeah,
VS Code.
Yeah, so VS Code is the IDE. It's Microsoft's VS Code. It's actually a pretty popular IDE that a lot of people are using.
And it's free.
And it's free.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And where so is this calculating a result for you somewhere?
This calculation that we're looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is actually inside of this is actually in a table set on a field. So this is a field calc.
Wow.
At the table level. That's evaluating to basically a long piece of text that's used in a web viewer as like a paragraph formatting.
And just if anybody's not already using this, like for example me, code.visualstudio.com will get you to a download page.
Oh yeah, and where's the plugin you're using?
Yeah, that was my next question. Where's that plugin?
Oh yeah, sorry, I did not share that. Let me throw that on there. Just a sec. Okay, so not familiar with VS Code? They have a bunch of tabs down here. One's called extensions, and you can actually just type in. It's the only extension for VS Code, but luckily that they have one. You can just type in FileMaker, and there'll only be one found. This is the extension for VS Code, so you can install it and just start using it. It actually gives you some examples of how you can use it. There's just a couple brief things that it tells you about, but it's pretty extensive. So people that worked on this, actually, there's mention of some libraries that were used, like Matt Petrowski's repo. Apparently provided some snippets from like the actual code that's in here. So some other developers have worked on it and contributed to it. So it seems to be supported pretty good. The last update was probably in August. So it's not like actively updated all the time, but it's still pretty good.
August is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, that just took me about 3 seconds to download VS Code and install the FileMaker plugin. That's cool.
Well, shoot, man, we could just end right there. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Here, let me show you one of my favorites, which is the the object menu. I love this thing. It's simple in concept, but it helps so much, right? It's just like everything else we're showing today. So one of the main things I use it for is, like, we have this layering thing going on over here. Here, I'll use John's trick of the command button, right? So these two objects are layered on top of each other, and they're right here. One of them is a checkbox for when you're in find mode, so you can find something with images, but it's hidden in browse mode, so you just see the image in browse mode, right? But in layout, you've got both of them. And so if I wanted to get in there to that container, I could come over here and just hide those two items here. I need to highlight just what I want to hide. So if I hide those, then they're gone from layout mode, and I can then get to my container without, having any trouble. And of course, this is a very simple version of that, but you get the idea that if you've got a ton of layers, or especially if you've inherited layers, if you've got stuff like this, you can highlight a section and see all the layers. First of all, that's one of the main things when you're reviewing something that you've inherited, is finding out, wait a minute, what's the truth here? And then just being able to say, okay, hide that for me so I can see everything that's behind it. You're not hiding there. There we go. Right. So super powerful stuff. You've also got right-click menus over here, and so you could you get different contextual menus depending on what you click on. So, you can rename things, you can do conditional formatting and script triggers right from here. So you're not having to even go through the layout and figure out, how do I get to the thing? Just come over here and apply the formatting from here. And then hide all other objects, hide objects in front and back. I mean, it's so nice just to have this at a click, rather than having to fumble our way through layouts, or, however you've done it in the past. And then you can reorder stuff, right? So if you want to, let's say I put this behind the container, right? So now it's on a different layer, and it's just simple. You don't have to click around in the layout and possibly mess things up. You can just do it from a controlled environment off to the left side, and it's super helpful. I mean, it's simple, and that's a short demo, but it's powerful.
Yeah, I rarely use the what is it, the position tab on the right menu. I forget what that's called. Just because that objects tab is so much easier for positioning, layers and naming objects. And naming objects is super important. I think it was a while after that came out, or that feature came out. I didn't realize that when you use the get layout object syntax, it only returns names or objects with names that are actually named. So I try to name as many important objects as possible using that objects tool.
Yeah. It also opens up more opportunities in programming or in scripting. When the objects are named, it's much easier to get to that object.
Yeah.
Well, so mine actually is a little bit of a play on a little bit kind of what Jacob was. Maybe we'll reorder these, but mine is basically one of the favorite ones is using the let statement inside the expression window. So, going up under tools, data viewer, and then creating a new watch.
We don't have to do that now.
I know. I need to put in my shortcut.
Keyboard shortcut.
Yeah, well, I love the keyboard shortcut. I think the problem is I'm a lot of times I'm using remote desktop on a Windows server or whatever to work on stuff, and so when I can do it on my Mac, I'm really happy. But sometimes if you get dependent on the tools and you're constantly changing environments, it's a little tough. But so it's pretty straightforward, and it falls in line with what Jacob was talking about. But I'll just write out a let statement really quick, put my variables in there, and this would be so that we were going to say do something. You can then attach it to the different references for the record that you want it to be on and get your output. But I'll be able to put fake data in there, to be able to see my let and see how it's working and just draw out my variables. So really straightforward, but super helpful. Saved me so much time for debugging once I started using it more regularly. And
I like how we've been working together for years and you still don't know how my last name is spelled.
I was just joking about that. I was like, well, how do you spell rain?
Yeah, so execute SQL. This is a lovely place to do that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're the type that loves the inner and outer joins and all the bells and whistles that you can throw in there, you've got to have a place to work that out.
This is where I start, like if I have to write a while, which I use whiles. I know I use them.
I'm still not used to the while syntax, man. I can't do it without the data viewer.
Yeah. So pretty straightforward one.
Here.
Pretty easy. So
I
I'll usually list it. So, I break out each of my variables that I need to attach, put those at the top, and then have any sort of conversion process in the middle. And then I'll always do the final line that doesn't have the closing one as the output at the end. And you can, of course, always, the other part is this is just random stuff that I always end up having to do.
And the disable lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like put a return character in here so I can see the different values that output and so on.
I do the same thing, let statement, that I put JSON variables in there, and then I test calls to the JSON in the let statement itself, just to verify that I'm working with the correct JSON object.
Oh, global.
Globals, or just even in this while the script is running, you can open this up, and you can just keep your template in your data viewer, your let statement in the data viewer, and reference the variable names that you use regularly. It'll display those while the script is still running.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to.
I do that one too, to see what your variable states are.
Yeah.
As well while the script is running. Like I'll do it, and sometimes I'll just like pull references to the different parameters that need to show up in the script, and so I can tell what they're supposed to be, what they are, and when they get changed, and then just keep monitoring it while you run the script and walk through your script steps. Absolutely. Yeah. Totally. I mean, these are basic stuff for the expression viewer, but
it's just so handy.
Yeah. The point is made though. This is when you're getting into complex things and you have to figure out what's going wrong where. This is the place to do it.
Yeah.
And also keyboard shortcuts. Option 7 will give you the Pilcrow. You don't have to click on the Pilcrow button to get the return character.
Oh
my goodness.
Option 7 will do it.
Whoa, option 7?
Wait, I need
7?
this. I need this. Hold on.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Wow.
I've been looking for that for years.
Hey, Brad, that's a big one.
Years.
Oh, man.
That is a good one. Wow.
Okay, let's just go home now. Yeah, that's good.
We can't. Joe's got something.
Yeah, I was going to say, Joe has to follow that one up.
No, sorry, Joe. Yeah.
Well, looks like, you guys have to listen to me talk for a while.
I'm putting it into the chat now too, just because I'm so excited.
Yeah, that is a good one. Option 7.
Man, seriously, option 7.
That's why we do this, guys.
Yeah. Okay. It's hard to know everything. So, Joe.
But Andy's trying.
Yeah.
He's trying.
Not very hard.
I used to try hard to learn everything. Now,
well, look at this.
It's been decades since I've tried to learn things. So I'm kidding. Okay, so you've heard me talk about the MBS plugin because I'm a big fan of it.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I like it, especially the free version, you can colorize the syntax in FileMaker. FileMaker does, I can't remember, I think it was 18 where they introduced that feature to where they do that by default. But the MBS plugin does a really deep dive into customizing or into just having a better syntax, colorizing for all the syntax. Based on types and variables and just whatever the syntax is, they kind of group them together But another layer of that is they allow to customize the color palette that you've selected to use. So the default is fine, and it's pretty well, really well balanced in light mode, in normal coding environment. But in dark mode is where it gets a little tricky. So they added some color palettes to the latest version of this syntax colorizer, and this is available on GitHub. I'll post a link to it. But it's a free download. Well, MBS, there's the free version of the plugin, and then there's paid version. This is even supported in the free version, so it's a really handy tool. And this syntax colorizer, there's not much to it. It's basically just running some MBS code to apply colors to different like character matches or like value matches. It's like doing a pattern count and then changing the syntax for the text that matches the pattern. But the fact that it gives you this palette that you can go in, and I've taken a palette that I liked and then customized just a few of the script steps. But just the fact that literally every one of these, you can choose the color for each individual syntax. So I changed the color for the plugin script step, so I know plugins that when I'm using them, I've got a little bit more of it was just like a grayish white color, so I wanted those to pop a little bit. But even things like to-dos and testing, it finds these patterns for test and changes the color to match. Note, fix me, bug, it does all of that in your script. So I'll open up a script. Now it comes with the syntax colorizer comes with an example of every possible script step, so you can see what they look like. So that's really handy. But then, just a standard script. So this is just our favorites file that we use. But this is generally what it looks like. And in dark mode, this looks really nice. I've kind of gotten used to seeing where it highlights the all the if script steps, else if, it does the whole bit of highlighting those, and then I can see where they easily are, within the script itself. Generally, this is a smaller script, so generally most scripts are larger than this, and we can see the whole stack.
That's really nice.
Colorized. But yeah, if I wanted to, if this was a bug, and then we've got all of our bugs are highlighted. The one I use the most is to do, this, and it's all like a goldish color. So simple things like that. And for a guy who'd like to, really customize his environment, which I do just to make things easier for me to see. I don't like wasting time searching for things, even though we do tend to search a lot. So having little things like that to make things stand out just helps it just that much more. And since we've got a tool to apply the colors, it's really nice. All I have to do is, select it. I can go through and, there's different color palettes in here. And then all we have to do is apply palette. And it just, it runs a set of scripts to apply that palette. And there you go. It's all just.
And that's with the free version of MBS, right?
Yep, free version.
That's amazing. That's
awfully
really,
really handy.
Super nice of them to make that free.
That really makes you want to pay for it, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah.
Can you share a palette? I mean, I know you're applying a palette that comes with it, but if you customize a palette, can you share it?
Yeah, so I can export this palette and then send it to whatever, and then we can import it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's cool. Very cool.
And so there's a number of other tools that are available with the MBS plugin to do different controls and such, but I think this is probably, since personally this is the most used, and because I don't change the palette much anymore, but I know that it's so easily available. This this individual file is kind of just lives in a place where I know it exists.
Yeah. That's
And
awesome.
the other tools aren't as used as much, but this one is great.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join us for the DevCast. That's all the time we have today. I hope you found some of the tips and tricks that were presented by our developers useful, as I did. If you have a topic you would like the developers to cover, you can email us. The address is info@portagebay.com. You're also welcome to call us. The phone number is 425-481-8175. Until next time, now let's get back to work.